everyone, Chaz Large here at last with yet another repair video for you. I had so many things happening, I haven't really been had a chance to video anything, but now things are sort of calming down a little bit, so I'm getting back to doing some longer term, hopefully, repairs. On the bench today I've got another one of these Roberts CD9960s. I had another one earlier on. I'm still waiting for a spare part for that. May be able to use this also to help fix the other one, because I wasn't sure about the voltages on it. Anyway, this particular one has come in saying the cassette deck doesn't work, so we're just powered on mains wise. It does run on batteries as well. I'll stick it into CD and close the lid, and I can see already that the have a little look over the top. You can just see, maybe, yeah, you can just see that the spindle is turning, which is good. That means that the cassette mechanism, the CD mechanism is hunting for a disc. So let's just pop a disc in, see what happens. This flickering is the flickering between the display operation and the camera frame rate, so it's not a problem. For me it's solid. So let's just press play. Yep, so it's playing the CD okay. Let's skip forward to the next track. Yeah, so it's another one. These are all YouTube tracks, so they shouldn't have any content match hit. Let's just go back to the lowest, the biggest number, which is the outside of the disc. If it reads this, we know that disc is working all the way over. Yep, it is. So that's okay, that's good. So we can move on from the CD. I always like to test all the functions. Okay, next thing we'll try is the radio.
But sometimes with people it takes them outside.
Right, where are we? Oh, long wave. Very useful.
You are on this heaviest day of hell is a fantasy.
Interesting, the sound.
You write, speak and study other people's words. When you should be speaking.
He is right. You are marvellous.
You can't hear that, but well, you can hear it crackling. But that selector switch, yeah, this selector switch here is definitely a bit dodgy. Yeah, the sound's come and going from different channels, so I would guess that selector switch there needs a clean. Right, now for the fault that they complained of, which is the tape deck. Let's open the tape deck, put in a test tape of, again, YouTube music. So yeah, the heads are at the top, so we put it with the cassette open side up. Pop that in, close it up, press play. Nothing, no movement, can't hear any movement. No, so it seems that the cassette deck is absolutely not moving. Let's just press play. Right, there's no turning of the turntable. The capstan isn't turning either. So I think we definitely have got a fault with the cassette deck. So now we've got to do is take it apart, and this is one, as I say, I'm familiar because I've done this before. There's a couple of sort of semi-hidden screws there from underneath the handle, so if you don't lift the handle you'll never notice they're there. Okay, unplug the power, and on the back we've got one here, and then we've got several down below, and we've also got a battery compartment underneath. A nice big sturdy battery compartment cover, and all the battery terminals look good, so it's not had any sort of terminal damage in that respect. So let's get it taking it apart. I should probably whiz through this. So long screws down the two long holes, and all the others are short screws. Did I see, was there one in the deck? No, so we're okay there. So now we just got to pull it apart. Don't think there's any screws. Oh, there is a screw. Ah, that's interesting. It rattles. There is a screw underside there, but I think that's more for the fascia. I don't think that's anything to do with the cabinet. Got one screw there, but that's for the bottom of the telescopic aerial. I seem to remember this being a bit awkward. Ah, there we are. The last one of these I took apart. Yeah, perhaps we'll have to take the antenna out after all. It's coming through both sides there. Awkward, this awkward beastie. There we go. That's apart. And inside we have a wire that's come unplugged from there, which is presumably that's the BFO oscillator connector. We'll just make sure that plugs in. It's not necessary for it to operate in there. FM mode, mono and stereo, and beat cut. Yeah, so obviously it's got two functions, this little switch on the back. So if we get a little marker on here, on that one, allows us to take that off. We've got the power connector, which is there, which we can probably put that back, put power through it from an adapter, and the FM antenna wire, is that plugged in? Yes it is. It's cable clipped, so let's see if we can pull that off, feed it back through the cable tie. Trying not to undo it. There we go. So we can take the power supply unit away. It's probably going to be equivalent power supply, which we can plug in something else to power it up. So now the next thing we need to look at is the deck mechanism. It wasn't turning at all, so let's just see inside the deck mechanism. And we'll just manually turn the flywheel, and whilst that is turning, it feels a little bit stiff. Right. Spinning, so it's turning the spindle on the motor. You can just see there that it's turning the spindle on the motor. The camera will auto focus in there. Go on camera, there you go. So that's okay, the belt doesn't look too bad. So what we need to do now is to see if anything happens on that when we got the extra power. So I'm just going to pause this for a minute while I find the appropriate power cable. Right, well I've found my little adapter. It's just a little plug and socket. It just saves trying to wedge bits of wire into a connector, and it just makes life a little bit easier. It's just an old socket that I found on an old PCB. Stuck it onto a bit of Veriboard and stuck a couple of loops in it so I can just connect my power supply up. Got the power supply running at 6 volts. So we just switch on. Radio's working. Okay, so let's go back to the tape deck, which wasn't doing anything, and press play on that. That's that one. And nothing. No, the motor is not turning, and the flywheel is not turning. Oh, hang on. Just give it a kick, and it started. Yeah, it's going now. I can't stop it. Let's just see if I can stop it with buttons. And it started again. And now it's stopped again. So just give it a little tiny pull. Yeah. I think we've got a motor with a dead spot on it. So I think we've got a faulty motor here. Now, it could be that the motor itself is at fault. It could be that the bearings where the motor goes through is a bit dodgy, so I'm going to have to take this out to get at that bit. Obviously removing the mechanism from the front. There's 2 screws here, 2 screws down there, so I'm going to have to split this whole thing up in one part. I seem to remember that the circuit board and the CD player section comes apart from the rest of this. There's 2 screws. Let me just take the camera up so you can see there's 2 screws, one there and one here down there, which you can get at, and then the 2 halves of the thing come apart. There is a screw there that's marked, and several, which is the circuit board, but I don't think we need to break the circuit board away from that. I think the 2 parts come apart, so that's what we're going to try and do. I'll just take the camera up so you can see a little bit more of what we're doing and get on with that. I may whiz through bits of this where there's unscrewing going on. And it's starting to come apart. Now, now I think this is where that spare screw that's sitting at the top there comes in. You can just about see the screw. I can get it in the camera light right. There's a hole here which you can get a screw through, and I think that releases this plastic here from that plastic there. So let's see if we can get through there and do that. Probably an easier way of doing it by taking the front hinge off, but I don't like doing that unless I absolutely have to. But yeah, it seems to have released that bit there. You can see that, and there's the screw. So let's just grab that screw before it falls into the mech. And there we are. That releases that. Now there's some wires that seem to be very long, so maybe they will allow us to be flexible, or maybe we unplug them. I'm not sure. Yeah, there we are. The whole 2 halves come apart. See, Roberts Radio, we've obviously considered the fact that we're going to have to get in there, possibly their service personnel, so it's probably something they've considered, making life easier rather than just allowing the factory to just bolt it all together and worry about getting in it afterwards. So now we've got the mechanism like that. These wires for the speakers are a little bit on the short side. They're held under that speaker there and that speaker, so releasing that's not going to help. Okay, let's just see if we can take the whoops, the screwdriver sticking to the magnet of the speaker. Yep, so there's a screw. Quite nice looking speakers, those. That I think holds everything down through plastic there. Quite a long one, but I can't shift it. And then that one there holds the mechanism. So let's press eject, and we should be able to release the mechanism from there. It's a shame that the speaker wires are entangled with the rest of the wires. It would have been nice if I had just released the speakers, not having to release that cable tie. But then it goes through there anyway, those speaker wires. It might be worth, let's just get that screw out in there and that one. So desolder that thing, but I think we can actually work on it. Not too much hassle. Right. So we press. We've still got the power connected. Right. Yeah. I'm pretty sure actually we might have a dead motor. Yeah, so it's not feeling like the motor is, yeah, feels like there's a dead spot in the motor, but it might be worth actually taking the motor apart if we can, because sometimes you can get bits of grit or something that get in between, sometimes you can get bits of grit inside the actual motor itself, which causes an upset to the magnetic fields, and just taking it apart and cleaning it. I've had that happen before. Can do that, but the main problem I think with this is the fact that it's all like manufactured. It's not. There's no screws holding these bits and pieces together. So let's turn the power off, and we've got a little plate here which holds the motor bracket. In there, so that is, what is that part of them? No, that's just a standoff. Oh, there's another little screw holding that motor bracket there. Can I get to it? Yes, I can. Go back to the overhead. So basically we're releasing the motor from that. Let's just drop the drive belt off. Yeah, drive belt, it's not gone slack, so we're okay with that. Just turn this motor around. Can't feel any. Sometimes you can feel, if you've got something jamming it, you can feel it. I can feel the magnetic cores. Turn the power back on for a minute. I'll just hold it still. Yeah, just holding it still and just giving it a kick. Yeah. And if I can stall it. Yeah, I can store it quite easily. I think new motor required there. Let's see. It's a 2400 RPM motor, counterclockwise. 9 volts DC. Okay. Now, have I got an equivalent motor? I know I have got some motors. I shall stop the recording there and have a little look at my stock. Right, so having decided that the motor is at fault, what I'm basically going to do is to swap this over with a motor from another mechanism which I've got. In fact, it may be even easier just to swap the mechanism, so I'm just going to go and see if I can retrieve the other mechanism. Right, having retrieved the other mechanism, let's remove this one from the electronics of this one. It's quite simple, it's just a little bit tangled with these wires. And the first thing we need to do is to unplug this connector from here. Use my connector puller because I just do not like grabbing hold of wires and pulling wires, because in the past wires have pulled out of plugs. So I'd rather get hold of the plug and pull the plug out, like so. Now, because this is all sort of tangled up, I'm just going to snip the cable tie. Get rid of that. Now there is a beat cut switch. I suppose I should have put this motor back in. Yeah, not to worry. A beat cut switch which is connected to the back. That's through that other cable tie there. I have to cut that one out as well. And then finally, well, this one's slightly different in fact, because is it different? Oh no, it isn't. That isn't. Tell a light. Yes, it is actually. Ah. The little plastic surround that surrounds this case is actually not there, so I guess at some stage it was missing. So interestingly, the mechanism from the other board is slightly different. Let's just move that motor out of the way. It seems to have a lot more components on this one than on this one, but I don't know quite why that is. Whether they've put, doesn't seem to be any more components on the underside of the circuit board, but it all seems to be there, and it is both a record and playback machine, but it uses a fixed magnet for erasing. So perhaps they've just whittled down. No, actually, if you look at it, there's just a little bit here that's more of that than there is on this. I'll just double check the pin outs. Yep, it seems to be the same. So let's put that faulty mechanism over there and plug this one in. Over here, double checking, yep, black is ground. So that's there. This then plugs into here. And we should now have a working cassette deck. So let's put the camera back up there a bit. Now hopefully this will work. Let's power supply on. the right power supply voltage. Let's just check. The radio's coming on. We've got to clean that switch in a minute because that switch is a bit dodgy. If we press play, we're in pause, so play, it starts straight away. Let's stop. Let's rewind. Fast forward. Right, let's grab our test tape. Drop it in, press play. Yep, that seems to be playing back okay. Let's rewind it. Oops. Seems to be working okay. So this mechanism seems to be alright. So we just need to double check that it's running at the right speed, and we'll do that with a test tape. So I'll just stop the video for a minute while I get that bit ready. Right, for speed test purposes, I've connected my meter, which has got a frequency counter on it, across the speakers on, let me just move that out of the way for a second. You can see, you can't actually. I've got my meter connected across one speaker. There's the meter there. That's connected through to my computer screen, and basically I've got a test tape here, which is a test tape that I've made from a known good frequency signal, 3 kilohertz, from a frequency generator which is nice and stable, recorded onto a cassette deck, a Denon tape deck, which I know is absolutely running at the right speed. So hopefully this on this side is 3 kilohertz, on that side is 1 kilohertz, but it's only on one channel. So I will pop that back into the cassette there, and we will press play. And there we are, 3.067 kilohertz. So I can prove that that's changing if I slow it down. Yep. So 3 kilohertz on that side. So that seems to be the right speed. Let's see if we get 1 kilohertz on this side, which we should do. Just turn the sound up. It's just the level. The meter's got a bit of a tolerance level. So 1 kilohertz. I'm more than happy with that. So the speed on that tape deck seems to be okay. It sounded okay anyway, but that's always a good double check. So that's problem 1 solved. The other problem we had was with the radio, where I won't get a lot on here. Tune it in. I won't get a lot because of interference with the lights above me, and of course I've not got the antenna connected. I might just pick up something really strong. But the point is, you can probably hear that. that changed. That's because this switch here, the system switch, which governs between CD, radio and tape, the connections inside are not very good. In fact, you can see it's actually quite loose in there when I move it about. So I'm hoping that we can just put some switch cleaner in there, some degreaser, and hopefully that will resolve the issue. I'm going to try that. I've got a new degreaser which I've been trialing. It's called Power Degreaser. I'll give that a try. I've got some Super Serviceol switch cleaner, but this is supposed to be Power Pro degreaser, powerful degreasing solvent, evaporates quickly leaving no residues. Not for use on live electrical equipment. Spray directly onto the area to be cleaned. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not that keen that this is going to work, but I bought some just in case, because degreaser is the phrase, but I use switch cleaner, which is supposed to work. But if we get a little bit of this in here first, we can get the nozzle to stay in, that is. Yeah, in fact it's got the same smell as where I used to use Super Serviceol. That was always one that I've used for many years, and doubtless it's probably got the same constituent components in, because it smells the same. So anyway, thought I'd give that a try. In fact, the one I used to use years ago, and I still got a tin, this is about half full, and that's Philips service contact cleaner, contact spray. So that's the one I used to use. You can tell how old this is. Look, the tin's going rusty. But Serviceol was the one I always went to for choice, and that always seems to work. So I'll put that degreaser back up on the shelf. Anyway, it's still that switch is still a bit iffy. You know, I'm not happy with that, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that switch out of there, take it apart and clean it, which many people may not have seen the inside of one of these little slide switches, so it may be a little bit of an experience for you. So let's power it down and see if we can take that out easily. We'll put the cassette deck down here for now. Actually, I suppose we might as well put the cassette deck back into its housing, hadn't we? Let's do that. Let's get rid of the power connector. Make life a little bit easier. Deck into here. Right, so finally we've got the deck almost in the right place. Just need to jiggle it until we get it into the right position. I'm sure it is going to go, even though it's a slightly different deck. Ah, of course, that screw there is the screw that holds it in place, and it's still in position. That is causing took it out. I didn't take that out of the right. We are one screw in. Yay! Let's just put my cloth under there just to hold that in place. Screws. Right, so having done that, now if we come over to this mechanism, actually if we have a look at this mechanism, this circuit board here where this switch is, let's just focus on that, you can actually see that that switch really does, the soldering on those switch connectors there does actually look like that switch has been resoldered. Maybe that somebody's resoldered it just to see if they can fix the noise and crackling, or whether they've had it out and put it back in again. Anyway, we shall take it out and have a go at it. Right. Silly mistake. I thought I was recording, and what I've done is I've removed the system switch out of the circuit board here, and here's the system switch, and basically I've taken it apart and cleaned it, all whilst telling you how easy it is to do all this, and then realised that the recording wasn't recording because the screen suddenly went blank, and I thought, why is the screen gone blank? Anyway, so let me just take this apart again just to show you which you would have seen but didn't. Anyway, the switch consists of the plastic lever which slides backwards and forwards and is held in its three positions by a little ball bearing on either side, one that goes to the one end and the other one to the other end, and on this side the one that goes in the middle. So if you're taking this apart, these springs and ball bearings are under tension by springs, so if you pull it all apart, that will fly out and you'll lose probably one or both of the ball bearings and or the spring. So basically when you're taking it apart, you just need to make sure you hold on to the lever and just take out the circuit board. The circuit board is held in place by 4 lugs which are just basically bent over the circuit board to hold it in place there. Let's bring the camera in a little bit closer so you can see that. It's held in place by these 4 lugs, and so you just really just gently lever them back slightly so they're all standing straight, and then holding the lever you can pull the actual board off like so with the 4 sliders on it, and you can pull these sliders off just gently, and then you're using some switch cleaner and a brush, you can scrub these pin connections really clean. This one was really dirty and really bad, so it took me a long while to clean it. I even had to use a little bit of a wire brush on some of them as well. So that's, having done that, I can now reassemble it. You just push these little sliders back on very gently, making sure not to bend them, and then line them up towards the top and there, so they line up with the slots. It doesn't matter which way around this goes because it's reversible. So just get it like so, and we should then be able to push that back into there like so. So it's all back together. Hold it, slide the switch across. You can obviously test it with an ohm meter if you want, and then using a fairly beefy pair of pliers or something, just gently bend those little lugs back over like so. I find if you do that rather than try to grip it and bend it in, you can sometimes slip and break that. So I'm just giving a push down like so, just to bend those lugs just very gently back in. So that switch is fixed, and now we can pop it back into the circuit board. So I'm going to put this back into the main board, reassemble it, and basically test it again, and that should be a finished job. So I'll video this bit, but I'll probably speed it up in the process. All looks good. Let's just give it a clean off with some flux cleaner. Only a lot. Tilt it to one side. Nice looking repair job. Right, so let's put the lever back in the side, which I took off, and you didn't see me take that off because of my truculent bit of hardware. So that just hold the screw in place, drop the lever through the hole, align it up with the switch, and the screw falls off. Try again. There we are. Switch is working. Right, let's do a reassembly job. Start putting things back together, and hopefully it will all work. Work, you will work. Happy days. Job coming together at the end and finally working out. So the tape deck goes in there. That's the beak cut cable, which will dress. Come on. Right, and the tape deck power cable, let's feed that through that side. Where's that plug in? Plugs in around that side there somewhere. Oh, there it is. There it is. I have to turn that phone off, it keeps beeping. It goes in there. The speakers plug into the speaker socket on the side here, which is on the little subboard to the headphone socket. So that plugs in there. And the tape deck mechanism should drop into there like so. And just because I might have bits and pieces on my bench, I always put something down just to protect, because I've got a nice shiny top, don't want to damage that if we can. So now we find the screws that are holding that to that. So there's one there, one there. each of these two. And then we've got one that's just up here inside the deck mechanism, which you can't see, but I can. So we have to put the screwdriver through there. Put the screw on it. And it's just under here. In there. You can actually see where it goes. If I hold it up to the camera, you can just see where it goes, that screw there. That holds that bit onto this bit. So if you're taking one of these apart, don't forget that screw. That's done. So apart from the actual speakers, that's the power, that's the antenna and the beat cut cable. My memory serves me right, beat cut is when you're recording, the oscillator in the recording cassette deck recording mechanism generates a frequency which can interfere with radio. So that's where you need to. And luckily on this little panel on the back with the switches, it's got beat cut there and mono stereo on there. So that's the beat cut, and that's the mono stereo switch there. Oh, before we do that, we need to plug in the VHF aerial wire, which plugs onto there. I'm not going to dress all these with cable ties, etc., just at the moment. It's done more for manufacturing ease than anything else. It's not holding anything out of the way that shouldn't be in the way. And then we have to locate the tuning knob, which is in a rather awkward place around the back here, just to get that in place. Oh, and look, the power socket has just decided to wander. Take that apart. That power socket should be in there. Try again. Get the tuning knob into position. Come on. And you should just gently drop into place. It came out easily enough. And that bit of plastic goes down. Gap in the circuit board, and together it goes. Phew! Phewy Louie. Right, let's have a power cable. CD's trying to find, so that's radio.
That you are going to make it.
FM's picking it up even though I haven't actually got an antenna in.
At home or wherever you're listening to
Right.
it in the car.
So it's a good job I did clean this switch anyway, because volume control is working okay. So let's put that into the middle for tape. Pop the tape out. Try my YouTube test music. Pop the cassette in. Press play. Let's give a boost. Take that out, turn it over. Yep, that's working. You can actually see the deck is working fine. Well, it ought to be, because we swapped the deck over. So, apart from putting the screws in the bottom, the other thing to do is quickly check, make sure that the CD is still playing okay. I'm sure it will be. So it's a good job we had this other old one. And if you are repairing CD players, it's always wise to try recording on your computer an audio CD and testing that, because that's significantly different to a off-the-shelf CD, because the off-the-shelf CD that you buy in the shops is mastered, it's stamped, it's worked, whereas a CD you record yourself, the CD is the data is recorded in the die that is changed state by the recording mechanism, and sometimes CD players don't always play that very well. So if it plays one of those okay, you know it's pretty much going to be okay on any CD that you put into it. That's my little nugget of information. So let's just press play, and that's okay, and I'll just skip backwards, and that's to the outside track. So the optics has moved right to the outside, the disc has slowed right down, so that's testing inside and outside of the disc without having to play all the tracks. Yeah, stop, eject, and we are done. So we are finished with this, and all I've got to do now is put the screws back together, send it back to the customer. So there we are, folks. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Sorry it's been so long before I've done another video. I've had so many things that I've got partially repaired. I'm waiting on spare parts, trying to get manuals for, trying to work out how they actually function before I can fix them. But I have got a whole stack of other stuff to do, so that I'll get there eventually. So in the meantime, thanks very much for watching, and have a great time over the Christmas holidays, because this is going out just the week before Christmas. So see you in the new year if I don't see you before. I might even do a quick message. I've got a little idea for a little short, so stay tuned to Fixing Stuff with Chaz Large. And thanks very much for subscribing. Cheerio.